A very good morning. We're analyzing EURUSD here on the daily time frame. So what we can see on EURUSD is that we grab liquidity above this daily swing high. Okay, so after grabbing the liquidity above the daily swing high, what do we see? We straight away see a rejection in towards the downside. So this overall pattern of the 1, the 2, and then the 3. So this ascending wedge is currently playing out. We're now seeing a correction in towards the downside. But before we are fully determined that the market is ready to start pushing down even lower, obviously the lower time frame would need to align. But for now, it is looking good. The daily has still prevailed, with the daily being bearish, this being the correction. So we have not yet broken above that daily swing high, indicating that the daily is still bearish. And remember, guys, the higher the time frame, the stronger it is, because on the 4-hour time frame, what you'll see is that we have actually indeed broken above that 4-hour swing high. So that would mean that the 4-hour is now bullish. So let's just zoom in over here. We can see very clearly 4-hour close above the swing high, above this black line. However, it is just with one single candle, so it also seems as it could be just a simple fake out. Now, keeping that in mind, what we have further seen is obviously the impulse up, the correction, the impulse up. So we've now seen a BOS. So we've got that BOS over here. Furthermore, we've grabbed liquidity above this daily swing high and above the 4-hour high. So it would now make sense for the market to start pulling back. Remember, guys, when we see a BOS, and this is just simply said internal structure, because the overall swing structure, right, was bearish downwards, but now bullish upwards, swing wise. But after a BOS and after an internal BOS as well, what do you expect? We expect a pullback. So what I'm now looking for is simply on the lower time frame. Remember, guys, even lower. And then looking at, for example, the 1-hour time frame. Are we now ready to start pushing down lower? Because if we look at, for example, the 1-hour fractal structure, this is your, let's say, low, which has now been broken. But we mainly trade on the 15, so let's see what is going on over there. So on the 15-minute time frame, we can very clearly see that yesterday we decided to just continue pushing upwards. After coming back down in towards this area of demand, we saw that V-shaped reaction. We pushed up, we pulled back in towards this area of demand, right? This sell-off before the buy, and from there we just continued up higher again. Now, what you can kind of see is, if we just draw this a little bit differently, is that again, kind of like this ascending correction, now breaking out, still consolidating, but it is pushing down lower. So a lot of people this morning were looking for a potential long from this area of demand, I would say. However, for myself, this was not an area of interest. Why is that? Well, because when I wake up over here at around, let's say, 7 o'clock, what you can see is that we've already been ranging inside of that area of demand for a very long time. And remember, guys, the longer that you range inside an area of demand, the weaker it gets. So therefore, I'm not surprised that we've now seen a low break. So at the moment, what I'm looking at over here is to see if we're going to sustain this push. For now, it's just a liquidity grab. For a BOS, we actually need a close below this line. But for myself, it is already looking good and better to start pushing down lower based on what we've already analyzed there on the higher time frame, being the 4-hour and the daily. So based on this 15-minute, I'm looking for a further sell-off, at least back down in towards this sell for the buy, before then potentially again seeing, of course, a reaction back up, before then following through in towards the downside. Why? Well, because the dollar is fundamentally bullish. So that would mean that it would make sense for EURUSD to keep on falling downwards. So as long as we don't see a candle close above that daily swing high, and for the same reason, we might see it today, guys. So we might just see that push up. But once we don't, or for now, as long as we don't see a candle close above here, for me, this is just a liquidity grab. This is the pattern playing out, and I still see potential for us to fall down lower, okay? Now, going in towards the dollar index, what are we seeing over there? So the dollar index itself is not necessarily very interesting, in my opinion. If we look at, let's just focus on the daily, we have this, let's say, swing low over here from where we saw this V-shaped reaction. So when you have a swing low or a swing high, which caused a very strong reversal or a very strong V-shaped reaction, there's often a lot of liquidity below it. So that was what happened over there. For now, what I'm looking for is definitely a pullback higher, at least back up into, let's say, the overall order flow, which we have over here. That would make sense for the dollar. So at least they push back up in towards 103,600. This is the overall buy before the sell-off. So yeah, it would make sense for us at least to pull back in towards there. So remember guys, every single time when you just have a major sell before a buy, you always pull back in towards it. The market will never just, or in most instances, just start dropping off fully again. So I'm definitely looking for a pullback at least in towards 103.600. Now going in towards AUD USD, what are we seeing on that pair? Because we saw a very strong reversal back in towards the highs. So looking here at the daily time frame, what can we see? We see again, very similar to the dollar. We grabbed liquidity underneath this low and we reversed back in towards the highs. Now, we saw a daily BOS over here, and the market has started to pull back in towards the highs. So the daily is bearish, guys. I'm looking at the 4-hour mainly to see if we can sustain the next push in towards the downside. So we are currently located inside of this supply zone. So this supply zone could start pushing Aussie dollar back in towards the downside. So for now, I am favoring shorts. However, keeping in mind, we did see a fractal low over here. So that means that this is the fractal high. That means that this is now your fractal low, which is protected. So I'm looking for those Aussie dollar shorts as soon as we break this low over here. Okay. So once that low goes, then I'll be looking for that short. Go into the 15-minute time frame. What you'll see there, it's pretty interesting because that 4-hour low is then pretty much a structural low as well over here, right? So you see the push up, pull back, push up, pull back, push up. So we want, let's say, not yet to go short over here because that could still be, let's say, counter 50-minute trend. But what I'm actually waiting for is for that 50-minute trend now to also flip bearish, get that bearish confirmation, and then we go short, okay? So that's what we're looking for at the moment. Yeah, pretty much that. On the 1 hour, we have already flipped fractal structure wise. If we just focus on the fractal structure, this is your fractal low, meaning that you could already look for shorts on the 1 hour, but I would preferably wait for a double break. So wait for this low to go again, and then definitely look for those shorts back down in towards, for example, this demand zone over here, okay? So that's what I would be looking for on Aussie dollar. Go into the 4 hour. Obviously, we are still, let's say, so-called bullish fractal structure wise. Would I want to go long from here? Like, personally, not necessarily, but at the same time, there is a lot of liquidity, guys, above this trend line over here. So we have these equal highs, which should still be taken out or could still be taken out. So if you want to be a little bit more aggressive, look for a potential long play here on the 4-hour fractal structure. Put your stop loss below here. That is the first trade setup that you take. But let's say we break the fractal structure, break this low, then we look for that short again, okay? So that's Aussie dollar. Going in towards pound dollar. What are we seeing here? So pound dollar, guys, looking here at the daily time frame, obviously there is still some room for it to fall a little bit lower. Looking here at the daily, very clear 1, 2, 3, and the daily order flow is still bearish, right? So this area of supply is still what pushed price downwards. So as long as that daily fractal structure holds, so the daily high over here of around 1.28640, as long as that daily high holds, we should still push down lower, okay? That is based on the daily. So the pattern and both the daily order flow are still indicating lower prices. Now, looking here at the 4-hour time frame, we can very clearly see how supply is holding at the moment and pushing price down lower. I mean, pound dollar is a little bit messy. Like if you go into, let's say, the 1-hour time frame, you can very clearly see, and let me just go back again. You can very clearly see we're kind of just consolidating. So it is a little bit of a risky pair at the moment. I would personally stay out of pound dollar and wait for example, a trade on euro dollar, just because it looks a little bit more clean. Obviously, surrounding the pound, there is a lot of uncertainty in the UK at the moment. You know what is going on with riots, otherwise just look on X. But yeah, a lot of uncertainty in Great Britain. Therefore, it does make sense, in my opinion, still for GBPUSD to push down a little bit lower. But yeah, just follow the daily for now. And the daily is telling me that there is still room for potential further downside until we break the daily fractal high. That is when I'll start looking for those potential longs. Now, going in towards NZDUSD, what are we seeing on this pair? So NZDUSD pulled back in towards the highs very steeply after grabbing liquidity underneath the lows over here with this wick. So at the moment, it is also just consolidating inside of this box. It is waiting for a direction, guys. It is waiting for a direction. So personally, again, not my favorite kind of setup to get in over here. Go into the 15 as well. Not my favorite, but I mean, overall, we are looking, let's say, more bearish than bullish, in the sense that we, let's say, if we just very clearly or quickly draw in 50-minute structure, let's say this is your 50-minute structure, okay? So like this, and then like this. That means that this was the low, and then that means that this was the break of the low. That means that this is your swing high, this is your swing low. We've come back up to grab liquidity above this high. We've now broken again below this low with the wicks. So I would now definitely look and prefer a potential short here on NZD USD. Going in towards the daily as well, I know that the Kiwi is extremely weak, guys, against the dollar. So I do expect NZD USD to keep on falling in towards the downside. So I do favor those potential shorts. Now, last of all, gold, guys. And gold, in my opinion, should rally up higher. Quickly analyzing the daily here. And the video is getting a little bit long. I'll cut it a little bit short here. But looking at the daily here, we can very clearly see, okay, the daily is bullish from this low in towards this high. Now, the market has pulled back in towards the 50% mark of the overall swing range, okay? So the middle of the range has been reached. And after that, what did we see? We saw a reversal in towards the highs, breaking the fractal high here. So meaning that gold is now bullish from this low in towards this high. So I am now looking for a continuation in towards the upside based on the daily. Now going in towards the 4 hour is also bullish from this low in towards this high. So still looking for those potential longs. The only thing looking here at 4 hour setups is a little bit difficult. Why? Well, because the fractal high is situated over here. So therefore I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive on gold. I'm going to look at the 1 hour and I'm going to look at the 15-minute time frame. So on the 1 hour as well, fractal high is all the way up here. Waiting for that would take a very long time. So if you want to be a little bit more aggressive, look to trade after the break of this 1 hour fractal high. Then just look for continuation and take some profits at, for example, imbalances, right? That is what you want to be looking for. Go into the 15-minute time frame. What do we see over there? So based on the 15, obviously we can see that the overall trend is, let's say, more bearish than bullish, right? So this was the break over here, and let's just say this was the break of structure. So high, lower low, lower high, lower low. So now looking at the overall 50-minute swing structure, what has happened? We have already pulled back in towards the 50% mark, which is not necessarily favorable. At the moment, the overall order flow is bearish. Okay, so this is your 50-minute area of supply. So what we need to see happening is we need to break above that. Okay, we need to clearly break above that, and then I'll be much happier to look for those potential longs. For now, don't trade against the order flow. Order flow is bearish. I mean, you guys saw it. 1 hour fractal structure is still bearish. 4 hour fractal structure is still bearish. So wait for that 15-minute and the 1 hour to shift, and then let's trade with the momentum upwards. So that was it for today, guys. Bit of a long one. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to smash that like button, join Discord, link in the description down below, and see you in the next one. Thanks, guys.